Welcome to Radio Express World News, presented by Vibha Ramesh, Los Angeles, United States. Getting you on board today's report with the announcement that United States President Trump has crossed the stage of being infectious and that he does not pose a safety risk to others. The announcement made by Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's top infectious disease expert, succeeded after NBC deemed it an official requirement in order for him to participate in a town hall-style event on Thursday night. Meanwhile, the deadlock on the pandemic relief package continues, and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin hinted that he does not expect a solution before the November 3rd election. The statement was made as Mnuchin and Speaker Nancy Pelosi had put in consistent efforts to bridge the gap between the Democrats and the Republicans. However, a bipartisan agreement over the stimulus package still seems like a far-fetched possibility. Discussions on the stimulus bill will continue on Thursday, even as Mnuchin stated that at this point, getting something done before the election and executing on that will be difficult. With the much-spoken U.S. elections round the corner, nearly 14 million Americans have already cast their vote, although they had to endure long hours of wait time. And in New York, the resurgence of coronavirus has led to some dire consequences, with Governor Andrew Cuomo threatening to withhold funds from local governments if they fail to enforce the closure of schools and strictly ban public gatherings. He said that hopefully that will motivate them. Moving on, the upcoming colder months sends a chill down the spine even as caseloads are moving upwards across Europe, especially France. Despite the existence of lockdown measures and safety guidelines in place, France continues to record single-day highs amidst widespread concern of an uncontrollable second wave of the virus. In effect, authorities plan to impose a curfew between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. in Paris and in 8 other major cities for a minimum of 4 weeks. The renewed state of emergency was announced by President Emmanuel Macron as he stated, "We need this, and if we don't want to take harsher measures in 15 days or 3 weeks or 1 month, we have to do it and comply with it." And in Canada, a spin studio in Ontario that assured adherence to public health regulations has been the cause of a recent outbreak. According to sources, nearly 44 cases have been directly linked to the studio. Contact tracing efforts are in motion, and 17 more people have already been identified as being infected through secondary household spread. However, Spinco, the company that operates the studio, remarked that its participants have had to follow a stringent set of safety procedures and also wear masks when not actively working out. Moving on to India, a deep depression passed over the state of Telangana, taking with it at least 23 lives. Heavy rain slashed the capital city Hyderabad, eventually turning into virtual rivers and prompted the deployment of the army, which took over the relief and rescue operations. Meanwhile, in Britain, the gaping differences in the handling of the pandemic by England, Northern Ireland, Scotland and Wales became more evident on Wednesday as Northern Ireland announced a 4-week lockdown and England enforced a new 3-tier system in Liverpool. With an average record of 900 new daily cases this week, Northern Ireland has ordered the closure of schools for 2 weeks and pubs and restaurants for a whole month, starting Friday. However, retail shops will be allowed to remain open. Over to Spain. While politicians continue their fight against the imposition of the federal state of emergency, a second wave of the virus is taking over by rapidly spreading in some other parts of the country. And Catalonia reinstated a set of new restrictions that includes a 15-day closure of all bars and restaurants with the exception of takeaway food and a limit of 30% of the capacity for shops. Citing the rising number of cases in Catalonia, the regional leader tweeted that we are in an extremely complicated situation. Meanwhile, in Bangkok, Thai pro-democracy protesters staged a move displaying opposition against the country's monarchy. To this extent, several thousand demonstrators gathered on the streets demanding the resignation of their Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha. Assembling at the Democracy Monument, they called for democratic reforms which also entailed curbs on the power and wealth of the monarchy. Quoting the words of the protest leader, "We won't leave until Prayut resigns," he said, as police estimated the crowd count to nearly 8,000 people. And in Netherlands, after several months of debate and contemplation, the government made a move that would seem practical and contextually appropriate but painful for the family of the children concerned. Moving forward, doctors will have the permission to euthanize terminally ill children. This means doctors can now end the suffering of terminally ill children between the age of 1 and 12. In a bid to protect the health of elderly teachers from the deadly coronavirus, Moscow has planned to replace them with university students. In effect, university students will take the place of primary school teachers who are over the age of 65 or have an underlying medical condition. The move was made as the Russian capital battles a spike in confirmed cases of coronavirus even as they resist a fresh lockdown. To that end, high school will have an extended autumn break and nearly 500,000 students will be moved to distance learning, said Sergei Sobyanin, the mayor of Moscow. However, since primary school children are less likely to contract the virus, they will attend in-person instruction, but with recent graduates taking classes for them. To end this news report, Iran surpassed another grim milestone with the record of its largest number of deaths and infections in 24 hours since the outbreak in March. Health officials in Iran acknowledged that the country is knee-deep into its third wave of the disease. The diminishing government sanctions and overwhelming hospitals have crippled the economy as the deadly virus has taken away a total of 29,070 lives. Sources say that in the absence of a collective action and the existence of the virus for another 18 months could take away a whopping 300,000 more lives. With that, we come to the end of this news bulletin. Thank you for joining us. Please stay tuned for the next program on Radio Express. To receive Radio Express English news and English programs in your WhatsApp, please send a WhatsApp message, English programs, to 90727 95547. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Radio Express. Thank you.